Good morning, everybody. I remember to put my microphone on this time, so that is a good start to all of this. I am Graham, POC Gamer, and this is the Tuesday morning map stream. It is going out live to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch all at once, so wherever you happen to be watching from, or if you're catching the VOD, thanks for tuning in. And giant shout out to my Patreon and Coffee supporters for helping make all this possible. And let's have some fun. Please remember to like and subscribe wherever you happen to be watching. And please consider supporting me. We are going to have a lot of fun today and over the next few sessions. Morning. Because it is time to make this cool Oasis City. So I've actually got some ideas around it, but they involve me resizing the map because the initial concept that I was working with last week was trying to create this feeling of a depression in the ground and people building stuff in it. But I realize now that I need more space to develop the city with this cool hexagon road. So we are just going to resize this map. So width, let's go for an even 3,000. And a little height, we'll do 2,500. There we go. Yeah, that's fine. Objects. Yeah, got everything. Confirm. Save and proceed. All right. So let's see what they've got resized here too. Size 68. So I'm going to select everything. Lock. Unlock. And we're going to increase the size of everything. Ooh, interesting. To 100. Wow, that just discombobulated everything. Why are all these? It's really weird. Okay, well, I guess we'll adapt and overcome. Oh, yeah, wow. Yeah, this resize is really, really weird. Like, I do not understand why it, I think it's probably because I think they need something, that's supposed to resize, like expand, maybe? Or simply expands out instead of trying to, do whatever it is this is doing. It's like it resized the waterfall, and the waterfall didn't work at all in the new size. So, and everything is unlocked now, correct? It is. Okay. So yeah, I'm just gonna I'm just going to take the hit. I will rejig everything here. I needed this all to be at 100%. Okay, so that's not as bad as it possibly could have been. The buildings all seem more or less okay. Let's come over here. Hop into Incarnate over here. I just want to check to see if I didn't play around with the rock sizes at all. I feel what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to resize the lake area. Oh, I will have to resize the lake area here. This is why you always keep that spare map for quick reference back. Okay. So, did I play with the rock sizes? Nope. Looks like I was faithful. Everything was 100%. And the original test, okay. There we go. Okay, I'm going to have to do a little bit more. That's okay. Everything is fine. Okay, so first off, we're coming through, repaint everything with sand. Just do a quick clear of that. Right, so everything is now plain old-fashioned sand. Interesting. Have rocks at the top? Yeah, I did. Let's see here, do a Okay, I see how I did that now. Hmm. It's definitely a little more challenging this morning, and that is okay. This is how we learn to do things better. Okay, I'm going to redo this. Okay. Fill that in. Alright, let's go to our stamps. And come back up here. These little shorties. There we go. Okay, now create the inverted section now. So one of the big things that I've always found with map making, whether it's in a program like this or working with ArcMap in a professional like GIS environment, is that you should never be afraid to rebuild your map. Sometimes you have to, not because you particularly want to rebuild it, but something goes wrong, a file will get corrupted, or something will stop working the way it's supposed to work, and you need to scramble quickly to find a solution for the issue. And so, yeah, just never be afraid to say, you know what, this wasn't working the way I thought it would. So I'm going to try to do better now. Or, sometimes your computer shuts down. That's always a fun one, too. They said jazz, not GIS. Yeah, no, it was definitely GIS. I have little to no jazz experience. Oh, absolutely. I mean, you could you could create an audio map. It would be pretty wild, I think, but that is something that could be achieved. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select everything, and we're going to shrink it down to 75%. So this is that whole observing what's going on thing, and that's, I've got more map space, but operating just realized that incarnate is accounting for map size, like your map sheet size, with the stamp size. So a larger sheet doesn't necessarily mean more space, because it will think that you want to be, your ratio will match that. That's okay though. It's fine. It's all good. So we're just going to keep building our Desert Oasis City here. We're applying the lessons we learned last day, which means that things like creating this depressed area in the middle to put the water in is much simpler than it was last time around. And we can make it all match up nicely. There we go. Now I'm wondering, like, how you'd do that. Like, how would you create a map based on sound? So we know that based off of like, I think it's bees and stuff like that, that they communicate lots of information about locations through vibration and dance. Did I put this whole thing together back? I did. Yeah, shadows are down the downward slope. Okay. I was wondering why that looked weird. Anyways, yes, we know that insects at least can communicate geospatial information uh, via sound, vibration, and doing the bee dance. So it would make sense that you could create a more complex topographic concept using the sound. It would just be how to process it from a end user point of view. Yeah, it might be one of those things where, as like a game master, you could really like drive home. Like, oh, you don't want to erase that part. You could really drive home the difference between, like sort of like a truly alien species in a game by doing something like that. Just really get into like how this other group perceives space, time, and everything else like that. Because those are things that like we sort of take for granted. Is that everybody sees maps the same way we do, and even within humanity, we know that how people view maps and space and time can be very different. My favorite example being like Polynesian stick maps. Pardon me, where they would map out islands, but the maps were basically like wave. The information communicated was a combination of like wave power, direction, wind, bottom depth, like all sorts of stuff like that. And they were able to actually like predict where islands were based on it. It's fascinating, and it was almost a lost art. And thankfully, um, some of it has been preserved, and I believe there's some organizations that are trying to bring it back, which I think is fantastic because it's a whole perception that, frankly, I don't think that we should lose, because it adds so much to our understanding of things. Okay, so let's. Alright, now let's kind of snap. Where's that waterfall? 125, do it. Stamps catalog, yeah, that's right. Right, watercolor cities. And waterfall. Terrain, there we go. Let's make it a little bigger. 175. And we'll bring it up a few levels. Okay, that's really big. I like that one. Let's try a different one. It's one of those working top-down challenges here. There we go. Yeah, that looks nice. Let's throw around a bunch of these. A bunch of these. A few of those guys. A couple of big ones. A couple of these ones. Alright, let's build some road. What I really like about all these is if the way you drop them, they're all angled to work together right away. And then you can just do little adjustments. See, and they still fit. It's brilliant. I love it. Yeah, there we go. Just little adjustments. It looks so nice. Flip this one. Yeah. There we go. So some pretty sweet news the other day I'm still waiting to hear back, unfortunately, from the creators of the Cyberpunk Red companion app. I contacted them asking them for a press kit because the screenshots I got off my phone weren't exactly weren't great looking. So I was hoping they'd get back to me. Okay. with a press kit, so I could use photos from that. But I haven't heard back from them yet. However, they did release news the other day, and I posted it up this morning through Buffer that, pardon me, the new Black Chromebook will be added to the app as a DLC pack separate from the premium. So basically, pay a couple of bucks and you'll get access to Black Chrome in the app. The app is already doing a ton of heavy lifting. Like, the amount of stuff that thing does is it's amazing. It's probably one of the best apps or best game related apps that I've encountered to date. Like, you could run a game from the app. Um, Everything from character creation to combat. Yeah, it is. It is really slick. They've done a phenomenal job. Um, they also announced, part of their announcement was that the plan to get the desktop app for it up had been delayed owing to some issues. How many? Oh yeah, 253 changes. Yes, it is a good time. So we're going to call this Oasis City. So I'm looking forward to the DLC, and looking forward to seeing what they do for the desktop app. I think that's going to be really interesting. Because right now, like as it stands, they are whoever the app developer is, the people doing the writing and programming and planning. It is very clear that they have learned and observed from the experiences of others, like D&D Beyond and all the other, like the D&D based character creation and supporting apps and stuff that have been developed, and they are just running with that information. Which is good to see. Like, it's one of the things I'm really enjoying about watching Cyberpunk Red develop as a game and as an general IP in this modern environment that we're all operating in now, is that they do not appear to be keen to try to reinvent the wheel. Like, they're not, when they go to do something, they're not saying, okay, how can we create this and re-experience all the problems that other larger companies with deeper pockets have had. They're developing things with a definite eye towards the end user and not repeating the mistakes of others, which is really refreshing. And that's on top of things like, I really loved how with Cyberpunk Edge Runners, which is the first major media IP outside of the video game that they've done for the franchise at all. I was very impressed by the fact that they actually trusted the material. Like, they trusted the mechanics, they trusted all that sort of stuff to be something that you could create a story with, which is something that other franchises like Dungeons and Dragons, for example, have struggled with for decades. And that they always they'll create good stories or good shows, but the content in them can't be replicated in game. At least rules as read. And it was really refreshing to see Cyberpunk Edge Runners just lean into the content, like lean into the material and the source material to create such a gripping world. and it's why I still recommend it as an entry point. Like whether you're going to go into the video game or into the and learning these little hexes is so fun. Whether you're going into the video game or whether you're going into the tabletop role playing game, Cyberpunk Edge Runners is an absolutely um, fantastic entry point to the setting, and an introduction to like the concept of the mechanics. Okay, so I've got a bunch of those laid out. So let's start laying out some of our city here. So open catalog, we want desert, not waterfall. There we go. So library, artist guild. What was this one? A university. Oh yeah, we're definitely toss the university in. So we'll throw around library, Riyadh, and university. The Riyadh right there. I love that adventurers guild. It's so nice. Put that there. Now we're gonna come back in and grab some more of these guys. There we go. Yeah, I dig it. There we go. Where was I? Oh yeah, going on about Cyberpunk again. Yeah, it's really great, and I picked up. Cause I didn't want to. Let's see here, move down a layer. There we go. I didn't want to mark up my physical copy of the book, so I got a digital copy of the World of Cyberpunk 2077 book, so I can really start digging into what's going on with that. Because wow, they have definitely been thinking through the changes in development that they've done for the setting. It's very refreshing to see, and it's a big contributing factor to why I'm so excited for the release of the 2077, or sorry, correction, the Edge Runners box set for it, because then we're going to get the actual what's it called, connective tissue between Red and 2077. And given the high level of integration they've done so far, I'm very confident that they're going to have some good info in there on how the world got from 2045 to 2076 at least. And then, of course, I'm hoping that they'll... oh, wrong direction. There we go. Then I'm hoping that they will get us some good information on... I'm just going to delete that. Let's drop some single blocks in. The... on what happened... wait, are these all 100? Is that what's happening? Yeah, they are. Okay, good. What the canonical ending to 2077 is, when they eventually release that supplement as well. Okay, stamps. All right, library, the university, the Riyadh. Okay, let's throw down... Oh, that's right, Runesmith. Artist Guild, where's that? Ah, there we go. Yeah, that's always been one of the nice things with... that's a good point, that they're not leaving this big question mark. And that's something that they've been really good about. Since the start, actually, is you've always been able to rely on... Can't tell. Those, like, is that a little entrance? I think that might be a little entrance. Probably shouldn't have the entrance over a cliff. Anyways, that's always been something they've been really good about. Since, like, day one, they've been keen on providing information about what's going on and letting people know, you know, what's canonical, what's and what isn't, which makes my life so much easier. When I'm doing working with lore from the cyberpunk universe, they leave a lot less up to the imagination, but at the same time leave enough space that you're not sitting there trying to figure out where it all went wrong. Yeah, exactly. And that's the key. That I think actually Dungeons and Dragons has forgotten is they've gone all the way to the other side of the equation where all they're looking for now is flexibility. And it's detrimental to their settings because it becomes harder. In the short term, it's easier to create like that. Like, it's easier to get content out, and your writers will feel a little bit more freedom. They'll be like, oh yeah, you know, I can do so much more stuff. But eventually that catches up with you, and you end up in situations like you see with DC Comics, where that happens all the time. That's why they have so many reboots. Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is coming along really nicely. it's so much fun to work with this. Let's see here. Yeah, it does. And that has been, oh, it's a big Fighters Guild. Nice. Now I'm going to put the Fighters Guild and the Artists Guild on the other side because I think they're teaming up against the Wizards. Um, yeah, there's so much stuff that D&D asks you to do now that they didn't ask people to do previously, and it to me at least I find it very frustrating because I remember when they didn't used to ask people to do so much work, and it worked, and everything worked out great. Oh, it does. It burns you out incredibly quickly. Like GM burnout is a very real thing, and it happens with almost every can happen with almost every game, but D&D in my experience tends to be one of the worst offenders for it because they just demand that um, the DM does so much, and they when they don't need to or shouldn't have to. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like you're already, especially if you're running your own campaign setting, you are already doing a ton of heavy lifting, and you don't need to be. Oh, that back there. Okay, there we are. Yeah, you're already doing a ton of heavy lifting. Like you don't need the added stress of having to, figure out. Let's see, come on, fit in there. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you don't need that added stress. You don't need to keep track of everything, but that's the direction they've gone. And it's really starting to show too in a lot of the world building that I'm seeing. Um, I think the Van Richten's guide that came out is a really good example of how it can really go sideways. Sorry, hang on. Sorry about that. Um, yeah, because it was it's one easily the most. Let's throw the Adventurers Guild over here too. It was easily the most slapdash almost book that I've seen put out, and like you could see the varying levels of experience and abilities to like conceptualize amongst the writers, and that's perfectly normal. Yeah, and that was just it. It's like Ravenloft is such a large campaign setting that it can't be encapsulated in a single book. At least the way they tried to do it. Um, like it needed to have more pages. It needed to have more content, and it just it was just really awkward. Like one of the things that frustrated me was there was like obvious tie-ins that were super interesting, and like expanded the lore, like because they're talking all the time now about how D&D especially is a multiverse and everything's all interconnected, and they fight like crazy to prevent anything from being interconnected. So one of the things I noticed right away was they had what was it? The Ghost Train. Like one of the settings that was mentioned, it was one of the um, move up layers. Okay, maybe I need to move these down layers. Yeah, apparently. Um, yeah, it was a Ghost Train. It was the last train out of I forget what it is. It was from the Eberron setting, and it was like the last magic train, like leaving this doomed area at the end of this last war. At the end of the last war, um, and it was like prevented from leaving with all these like refugees on board because someone super important had to get onto it, and apparently that person is the or at least it's like hinted at they're the domain lord, and they're like at the very front of the train in a special cabin and stuff. It was so cool, and they gave you nothing to work with past that. Like there's no unique creatures. Yeah, Sire 1313. Yeah, it was one of the coolest ideas they had in that book, and nothing. Like just nothing. Like they didn't give enough. They didn't give anything to make it work. What was another one? Um, the Lovecraftian horror one, where it's supposed to be like that giant like illithid brain thing. Again, super cool concept, but D&D doesn't do that kind of horror particularly well. And the so like, how do you do cosmic mind bending horror in a game that doesn't have mechanics for it? Um, and that through its mechanics discourages players from role playing the effects of things like that. Yeah, um, but it was a perfect example, on the other hand, of the direction that Wizards is going with their world building, in that they don't want to. I'll throw a little merchant skill over here, and I'll put a bigger one over there. Rotate this. Yeah. Actually, no, wait. The merchant skill will have to go outside the city. More towards the bottom, probably. Speaking of the bottom, we should give some natural stairs down. There we go. And we'll toss some over here, too. Some real janky looking paths down. And we'll throw one over here, too. And what else was in that game that just threw, and that one threw me off? It's a lot. But I think the big stuff was more just like it was more work for the GM again. Like the DM has to figure out how to make it work. Yeah, that's the thing is like Dungeons and Dragons has never, as a game, has never been good at horror. Not because it can't look like horror; it's really good at looking like horror. But because it has never mechanically supported horror, And so because it's never mechanically supported it doesn't know how, strictly speaking, to make it work. And the old way that D&D made the horror work was through like level drain, ability score drain, um, and I should probably hit that save button there, and resource management. And to its credit, you could push, you could still do very much do survival horror with D&D, because but then you run into the challenge that inventory management and resource management are no longer popular with the Dungeons and Dragons fandom, and so the two things that it could do to actually create horror aren't things that people want in their games so much anymore. Like people don't want to keep track of ammunition, they don't want to keep track of rations and everything else like that. And I understand it from like a purely like having fun at the table perspective. Like nobody wants to be having a fun, relatively lighthearted adventure where you're out fighting dragons, and I don't know, doing whatever, and then suddenly be like, "Oh, sorry guys, I ran out of rations 3 days ago. My guy's actually starving." People don't want that, and I don't blame them, because it does suck some of the fun out of it. And it's not in so many other games, like in the video games that so many of us played before we played any sort of role-playing game, and especially today, because like I firmly believe that more people are introduced to role-playing games through video games than tabletop. You don't do that in those. So, and you don't have the graphical interface or the jump scare capacity in D&D that you'll find find in video games. So, yeah, yeah, absolutely, I 100% agree. And that's a whole extra challenge there with the actual players in your party and what they're into. Because, yeah. Whoa, that is way too big. Because 100%, like, if your players are not into resource management, you're not likely to be able to get them to be into it. There we go. So let's throw a few homes down here. Yeah, because like I remember back in my day, it was just understood that you were gonna these little random buildings. That's cool. Small buildings. There we go. Oh yeah, I like that. Those are nice. Um, but it was just like understood back then. Like you kept track of your rations. You kept track, and it was because we still had that mentality that you had to play the game like that, which was problematic all over the place. Like there were so many things, and so many people who would have loved role playing games that got turned off everything because um, people just would not let stuff go. That's cool. I'm actually right now. I'm badly tempted on Humble Bundle. They've got Fighting Fantasy on there for super cheap. Um, and this is by I love their tagline that it's Fighting Fantasy by Steve Jackson, the one from England, because I guess there's two Steve Jacksons involved in gaming, and one of them does Final Fantasy, or one of them does Fighting Fantasy, and the other one does GURPS. And there's been apparently confusion in the past as to who is who. So, but yeah, I was looking at the character sheet for it, and it was really cool. Like very simple, like it's like a handful of ability scores, less than D&D, and it looked like it was really focused on like letting the players sort of like figure out what they wanted to do or how they wanted to get around. It was really interesting. So I'm tempted to pick it up because I think it was like $25 for the base set or something like that as DRM free PDFs. So like it is tempting. Because I'm always looking for games that facilitate good role play. Because my friends that I play with are heavy into the role playing side of things now. Like we all love our combat, we love getting into a scrapping game and all that sort of stuff, but they all love RP. So I'm always keeping my eyes open for anything that will facilitate that. And at least from the on the outside of it, it looks like Fighting Fantasy will do that. So I'm gonna check it out. I think it's on for a few weeks, so I'm gonna check it out. And if I do get it, I'll get back to you and let you know how it goes. Nice. That's a lot like one of the last campaigns I was involved with was a friend of mine was running Scion or Skyon. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Anyways, um, and yeah, it was heavy on the roleplay. A lot of fun. Interesting game. That's a good ratio though. Like 2 to 3 sessions between combats because that really makes the it makes the combat stick out. Oh yeah, humble humble bundle and bundle of holding. They are the rapid consumers of all of my beer money. So be like, man, yeah, I'm gonna go out and have some fun. I'm gonna get myself I'm gonna have a beer this weekend or something like that, and then I'll be like, oh, Humble Bundle has something new up. Oh, that looks really cool. Oh well, too bad, liver. It looks like you get a break this weekend. And yeah, oh yeah, the Cobalt Press one. Yeah, their Cobalt Press makes a lot of great stuff. I'm very interested to see what they do or what directions they develop their new in-house system in. Like I'm a little bit. I'll be honest. I'm a little bit disappointed that they are functionally making like a fifth edition with the numbers filed off. I'm a little bit disappointed with that. I was hoping for like a brand new system, but on the other hand, the quality of their work, historically speaking, has been really high, and I'm very interested to see what they do and how they do it. So I'm waiting I'm waiting for their new stuff to come out. There we go. I'm trying to maintain some connectivity there. Yeah, like overall, I'm really interested to see what everybody's coming out with. I did pick up the Modifius, Modifius. There we go. I did pick up the Modifius pack on Humble Bundle before it went off yesterday. It has like the 2D20 SRD is part of it, but also you get like Fallout and Dune, which are the two titles I was interested in. And then it came with Star Trek Adventures, which is going to be for my missus because she is a big Trekkie, and her and all of her girlfriends are big into Star Trek. So I figured that'd be a nice thing for them. Oh yeah, I'm 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 excited. She doesn't know yet. I'm gonna once I download it, I'm gonna send it over to her so that she can do her thing with it. But I'm pretty sure she's gonna love it. She has some gaming experience already with D&D and a few other games. So, which is like something hilarious because when we met, like she's a librarian, and somehow she had gotten through all of her like prior degrees. So she has like a bachelor of science of like neuroscience and a bachelor of English, then her master of librarian studies, and never put like all that super nerdy stuff. And she'd never played D&D before, before she met me. And so yeah, we corrected that situation, and well, actually, my best friend corrected that situation because I was off doing what was I doing? I think I was working in for a marine the marine research station as a diver. It was just after she'd moved up with me, and to help her make friends and stuff like that in a new environment, my best friend invited her over to play D&D with his group, and yeah, it just ran from there. So she really enjoyed it, and yeah, I mean she makes terrifying characters, which is fair, but her and her friends are giant Star Trek fans, so I figured the game would be nice for them. Really? Huh. You know what really surprised me, which probably shouldn't have, but it did at the time, and that was the huge number of D&D nerds in the military. It's like I was we're in the barracks. I'm over in my buddy's room. We're having a beer and hanging out, and one of his buddies comes over from they're both infantry. And one of his buddies comes over and they're talking away, and he looks over and is like, "What's going on? You boys nerding it up a bit? I see some weird D&D dice happening. What are you playing?" And I was like, "What is happening here?" Because he was like literally the last person you would ever expect to be playing D&D or to know what D&D or anything else was. And yeah, it like turned out dude had like a collection of like Twilight 2000 and some other games and stuff like that. And yeah, like it was nuts. So nerdy. So nerdy in the army. So many people playing D&D and other games. Like a buddy and I we played Warhammer 40,000 on an overturned wire spool in Afghanistan. Like, we got bored, we ordered the parts, got them delivered through the U.S. mail system because it was faster than the Canadian mail system. And yeah, like, we sat down, made all of our little, built our figures, painted them as best we could. It's really hard because there was nowhere we were that didn't have like this ultra fine, we called it moon dust. And yeah, there we were playing, being giant nerds playing away on the top of a wire spool. Let's see here. Bring that up a layer, or bring that down a layer. There we go. Down a layer, down a layer. Good old humble bundle. Oh wow, man, time is flying today. This village is coming along so nicely. Like, I like the effect of having this water feature up here that drains into a water feature down here. Let's put some little homes up here. Leave some space between stuff. So this is a good point. Those angle blocks, let's put in medium block here. When you're placing little, like any sorts of little blocks like this, it is generally important to make sure that you leave space for natural flow, because as you can see here, there's no like little roads as part of the map, like, or part of the stamp officially, but you can tell, pardon me, where there's supposed to be some. And so it's a good idea to let's throw a couple of these stamps out. Then we'll go back to our angled ones, toss a few more of them out. Yeah, that's good. Then we're going to throw some of our trade stuff up there. We'll do that after we've done some other work. Throw down some palm trees. Okay. So the reason that I'm trying to square these things off a little bit is because I want to show that while it appears to be disorganized, there's actually a level of organization to all of this. There we go. Okay, now we're going to throw some of the services that we'd see up there. So we'd see a smithy. We could throw down one of the small artisan guilds. Carpenter. So some natural stairs going there. But we're also going to use desert stairs. What else we got? Do we have a little... There we go. So we've got some modern stairs going down there. And catalog, watercolor cities. Where's that crane? Move that up a layer. So add some cranes in there. Nice. let's see here. Desert bridges. Oh, okay. Oh, I see what it is. It's like a covered bridge of some sort. Okay. Desert platform. Ah. Oh, I like that. Okay. So yeah, so I can create. Okay, yeah, I dig that. I like that. Modular desert stairs. Okay, I see how that works. Not what I'm looking for, but handy to know. I do want to place. Yeah, I want to get the fisheries down again. Open that catalog up again. We've got little boats. Those are too much boat. I believe there's some little boats. We have boats going on. Okay, so it's some little boats. Catalog. Desert shrubs. This is where most of the green. Try to make this look as nice as possible. People like green stuff. All right. Yeah, I like it. 173 changes. Time to save this again. Oh, time has been flying today, and we've gotten so much done. Um, we definitely don't need shipyards or big towns. Yeah, I'm just going to be throwing some of that down somewhere else. Dome buildings. So what I like about the dome buildings is that they're kind of generic, and as a result, can be really useful for being, in this context, like shops and stuff like that. So you can drop them down, and they match everything else appearance-wise, and don't give you a bunch of problems to work with. And you can always assign them to be things later. Like that's a big thing that I think a lot of people forget sometimes when they're building their cities and stuff, is that you don't have to reveal everything right off the hop. Like even in a small town, there might be secrets or something else going on. Ziggurats, Grand Temples. Whoa. Yeah, Grand Temple is not playing around. That is huge. Yeah, exactly. Got to leave in that flexibility. And flexibility, in this case, comes from us being able to not have everything labeled. Like, have stuff in place, but don't worry about labeling it quite yet. And of course, if your players are like, well, how come we never noticed it before? You can always respond with the classic, like, well, you were never looking for it before. Like, this wasn't, guys didn't have a be on the lookout for whatever your thing happens to be. So you guys never noticed it before. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those irritating real world effects is when you notice something and all of a sudden you can't stop noticing it. I find it's really bad with cars. Um, like I'll not notice a particular car, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, I don't know, like a Hyundai Kona or something like that. I'm like, oh, that's a cool looking car, and all of a sudden I can't stop spotting them. Okay, definitely need a bathhouse. There we go. Yeah, cars, the worst for, yeah, spot something and can't stop seeing it. Yeah. Okay, so we got a bathhouse. And let's keep everybody happy. Let's throw a brewery up here. And yeah, I've got to figure out what sort of defenses I'm going to put up around the top there, if any. Seeing this is supposed to be a high magic operation, and I may rejig this because it looks pretty wild compared to the rest of the city. So I may rejig that next day. But let's hit the save button, and yeah, wow, 90 minutes flew by today. So let's see what all happened. Map saved. Close all that stuff up. Fit to screen. Okay, so this is what we started with today. This was the original map. This is what we made together last day after fiddling around trying to figure out how to create this effect. It was really cool. Got me all inspired to create a larger map. Yeah, it's okay. Leave page. So here we are with this map today. We have seen huge expansion. It's turning into an actual like little city, and it's really cool. I'm definitely going to be rejigging this. That looks a lot more crowded than I'm happy with. Um, so yeah, I'm definitely going to be rejigging that next day. But for the main part of the main focus over here, we've got it going on. So yeah, we redesigned the basin area here, and there may be some more redesigns to come, but that should be pretty good right now. And added a feeder water source up here. Pardon me. So I got this nice. I like that effect. I think it looks cool. So we have our library, our riad, the Mages Guild. We added a university. We've got a bathhouse. Got a huge artisans guild and a little fighters guild next to it. We've got the adventurers guild here. We've got some fancy. They're called noble blocks, so I think they're supposed to be like noble housing or something like that. That's why they have all the fancy, colorful stuff. But I mean, like, that doesn't strike me as being super noble. It just strikes me as people that have good taste in putting up fancy stuff to keep the shade on. So I think we're definitely going to rejig this because it's not matching the rest of the aesthetic of the location as well as I'd like it to. Plus, we have options. We've got like medium buildings. So like these strike me as being sort of like higher density housing blocks. And then there's dome buildings. We already experimented with those. Then we've got desert fortifications. Yeah, we'll be getting into desert fortifications. We started to lay out where we're putting some of our trade stuff. Throw a water wheel in. Let's just see what these defenses. Oh, that looks cool. Oh yeah, that's going to be fun to work with. Oh yeah, that's good to go. But yeah, really happy with how this went today, and really looking forward to Thursday and then expanding it more. So Thursday, we'll fix up this patch up here, and we'll continue our expansion here. Maybe do something with the water a little bit. Maybe throw like a little watery bit up here or something like that. And yeah, I am really digging this. And for those of you who missed the Facebook post, super late last night. Should not be up that late at my age, but there I was anyways. Last year I talked about how my basic fantasy game had basically developed from basic fantasy to something that was no longer recognizable as basic fantasy. And for those of you not tracking, basic fantasy has taken a really solid approach to the whole OGL situation, in that they're going through and they're scrubbing out the OGL wherever they can find it, with the goal to keep everything as close to possible without running into any sort of copyright issues. So there's going to be a fourth edition of that coming out. However, that's down the road, and that's them. Talking about me, I talked about how I should put that game to print, like actually like type it out and do something with it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm about halfway through it. There's like 11 components to it. For ease of both creativity and time constraints, I'm breaking it up similar to how BX is broken up way back in the day. So I'm working on the basic set right now, and then once that's out, then I'll be able to put out stuff for that, and then I'll be able to add on to it with an expert set and all that sort of thing. So yeah, and it's going to be based around gaming in like this world that we are inadvertently creating together. So should be pretty good. I'm hoping that I'll have some beta stuff out the next week or so, and of course my Patreon and Coffee supporters will get first crack at it in the dive bin of free stuff over on the Discord and through links on the on Patreon on Coffee. So thank you very much for watching. It's been great talking with you all today. And my name is Graham. You can find me as POC Gamer on most social media, on Panzerline on Twitch, and a handful of other gaming places. If you're not already a Coffee or a Patreon supporter, please consider becoming a Patreon or Coffee supporter. If you are a Patreon or Coffee supporter, thank you very much. You're helping all this come together, and there is more cool stuff coming your way. So, take care and have a great day, everyone.